The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Community News. The announcement for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, and time thereof, was distributed on September 22nd, 2015. The items to be discussed during the closed work session of October 15th, 2015 may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and/or grievances, tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Can I have an approval for the minutes of the regular monthly meeting of September 17th and the executive closed session of September 17th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstained? None. Board comments? Mary?
At some point, we're going to be approving the goals, et cetera, that go to for CUSAC. And I did want everybody to know that as the rep to the CUSAC, Joanne and I met to go over the board ratings and so forth. So,
Thanks, Mary. Mike?
Last week, we had the honor of honoring one of our staff members, Kathy Marinello. The Fair Lawn Sunrise Rotary honored her in awarding her the Service Above Self Award. And I personally don't think that there's anyone less qualified for that award than Kathy. And I congratulate her, and really good showing from the board and a good time.
I expect you to say about 85% of that room was in there for you, Kathy, and if that doesn't speak volumes, the place was packed. Packed. And you are deserving of it. Congratulations. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. Mark.
Yes, we had our first community meeting with the new director, Mike Shansky, last week, and he seems to be very capable and very enthusiastic and very energetic about running the community school. He discussed that there were new safety procedures that were put in place that included safety drills and lockdown procedures as well as others, and this would definitely ensure the safety of our students if there was an emergency to take place. He also sent with the recommendation of the committee a brief bio to the community school board members, introducing himself. And one of his most immediate tasks is going to be increasing membership because it has dwindled quite a bit from what it was years ago. That's number one. Number two, before anybody else has the opportunity to congratulate Joanne, Brooke, and her staff, I wanted to say that I wanted to congratulate them for the exemplary audit report that was received by the board. Having no recommendations is like hitting a grand slam in the ninth inning with 2 outs. So congratulations to all of you for making that possible. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Elise?
We had a student dialogue meeting prior to this meeting, and we met all the new students that are members of the SGA or press officers. And I don't know if you're aware, it took a couple of years. The schools ordered a new fountain that also fills water bottles, and it actually keeps track of how many bottles it filled. It's over I think it was 2,300 bottles were saved. So that's kind of nice and green and environmental. And also, the students were interested, or wondering if, you know how we do the phone call chain through the, I don't know what the brand is, but we have the automatic when there's like a snow day. They were wondering if there was a way, because there's some free apps where you can do texting. So rather than get it on a phone, they could get it texted to them that there were snow days, as opposed, like not in, you know, not in lieu of that, but that if that was something that could be done, that we would look into that. So I told them I would mention it at this meeting. So before the, if we have any snow this, maybe before the next one, we can figure out if that could be done, or how that would be done.
We do have the capability, and we have been doing that for about 3 years, but you have to sign up on a portal. So we'll let them know.
Maybe to let them know that they can do that.
We have a lot of parents that get texted.
Right, but the student, I guess they want it to their phones, because now everybody has their own phones, so maybe that's why they're concerned about that. And also there's a new honor society, which brings us to about 11 honor societies, I think. They're having a tech honor society, and they just sent out the forms for people that want to apply to be into the tech honor society. Looking forward to a great year with them.
Thanks, Elise. Any other comments from the board? If not, I'm gonna bring it, turn the meeting over to Bruce. He's got several presentations that are required to
And I
be
just wanna pass
publicly
these out.
presented.
There's from the club there. I brought one.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you. So if you put your eyes over here, maybe we get through tonight and go home once the Mets. It's good to be. Okay, we have, the October board meeting is a, kind of a little bit of a lengthy one in presentation, because we have to satisfy so many different, either statutes or laws, and we do that, we take that very seriously. Part of that is to make sure that the board and the members who attend the meeting are well informed of what we're doing, so I'm going to try to do that tonight and satisfy everything, and I'll explain why that's so important as we go on. One of the requirements all school districts have is that whenever we receive any assessment scores in any area, we have 60 days to share those assessment scores with the Board of Education at a public meeting. Very careful. So first on the agenda, we have our science assessment scores, and Mr. Dorso is here. I'm going to ask him to come up a minute, and he's going to take you through the charts and explain what's going on. We will give you a little explanation of, you know, how we analyze the data and what do we do with the data, you know, that we have it, how do we treat it, and obviously that's the most important part of all of this. Next on the agenda, we're going to talk about the statement of assurance. Now, Board Trustee Mary Wallace just talked about that briefly. I'll get into that and the importance of it. It's called the SOA, and that is under New Jersey CUSAC, which is the investigation of all districts by the State Department. They call it monitoring, but they really investigate us very carefully. Are we fulfilling all our responsibilities? So I'll go over that. SOA is a statement of insurance. After you vote on it tonight, the board president and I have to sign it and assure that everything we're telling you, or that's on the documents that we're submitting to them tomorrow, we actually have done. I'll tell you how that gets done today. We're going to accept the district focus tonight. I'll talk a little more when we get to that. Emergency and crisis management plans is the next item. Anti-bullying law, I have to go over that twice a year by law. 6 months reporting at a time, and so we are going to talk to you tonight about last year from January to June. So we're going to go the clock back the last school year. We're going to show you some things in the law and how that reporting has to be made under that. That includes the HIT investigations. It also includes the annual school violence awareness. Now there are 2 weeks designated by the Department of Education, and I'll talk about those 2 weeks and how does that affect schools. So we'll share that with you. And then we get down to the alternate proficiency assessments. That's another set of assessments that's in the special education purview, and we have to again share that with you, so we'll do that. And that is only on science, because the APA now is transitioning into the DLMs. and we do not have the score. We did the BLMs last year, and for the first time, but we do not, it's like Park, we don't have the data, the scoring data back yet. It's coming, but it's not here yet. So when we get it, then I'll be bringing it to you and report that. We have alternate proficient, I just said that, comments by the superintendent. I just put it up here because I made some bullets, and I'll just stay right here and give it to some of the comments. So that's the agenda. We're gonna go through it. You know, I'll speed through it, but I don't want to miss any opportunity to share what I have to share. So just in case we do have somebody monitoring us from the State Department, the minutes will show everything we discussed tonight. So first on the docket, science assessment. So Mr. Dorso, if you don't mind standing up and sharing. So what we're going to talk about tonight, Ron is going to share with you his discussion on the science test assessment scores, 4th and 8th grade. We're going to compare ourselves to our district factor group. They still do this on the tests. We're going to talk about how we measure up against all over the state. And then he's also going to talk about the bio scores. Okay? So.
I just wanted to say I'm happy you brought Superman with you.
Thank you.
For this presentation.
Now let's make sure I have the right presentation for something else. Well, we'll find out as we go. Yep, there it is, okay. Okay, Ron?
Thank you very much. So, it's my pleasure not only to go over the scores with you, but also to speak a little bit about how we use these scores to drive what we're doing with the curriculum and with instruction in the district. So the first few graphs are longitudinal studies of what's been going on since we first started getting the assessment data back in 2006. We've broken it down by the different subgroups. So the first several are about 4th grade, then we have 8th grade, then we have the one chart that has to go through the biology assessments. So as you can see, for the 4th grade total students, we have Fairlawn in blue, the red is the DFG, and green is all of New Jersey. We can see that our total student population has been increasing over the past 3 years. We had 93% proficient, and then if you look all the way back to 2006, that's increased from 90% proficient. And we also are doing better than the DFG, and also are achieving more than the total New Jersey for the total students. The first breakdown is regular education students, and you can see the trend is very similar for regular ed as it is for the total population with regard to the comparison from the 2006 and also over the last 3 years. This is special education for 4th grade. You'll see the same trend again, increase over the last 3 years, comparison to the DFG in comparison to the state, and then also an increase from the first set of data that we had, which is actually 2005. Our ELL population is doing, I would say, much better than when we compare to the DFG. We have a 95% proficiency rate versus a 70% in the comparable schools and a 54% in the state. Then we jump to the 8th grade. Total students, once again, we have an increase over the last 3 years and higher than our DFG and better than the state again. I forgot to mention on the 4th grade test, this is the second to the last year that NJASC is being used for 4th grade. So next year is the last year, so we'll test this year, we'll test next year. Next year is the year after next is the first year that everything has to be revised for the next generation of science standards. And if you remember, I presented to the education committee about that. Some of the things that we gather out of this data, the teachers look over it at in the elementary schools, and we find we kind of dissect it by life science, earth science, physical science. And when we look through that data at that kind of level, we see the need for that spiraling approach that we've been heading towards over the last several years. In 8th grade, we just showed you that one. We have the same kind of trend over the last 3 years. Regular education students, once again, a little bit lower than last year with 95%, but again, higher than the DFG and much higher than the state, and we have a consistent trend across. Our special education population, same trend as we saw on the other graphs. And our ELL students, similar to the 4th grade chart, a much greater difference between us and the EFG. The 8th grade data, when we look over it again, this is the last year of NJASC in 8th grade. Next September is a year that we need to have everything revised for the next generation science standards. So I've spoken to you at that same education committee about how we're doing the spiral curriculum in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's going to be moving forward. If we're already doing it in 7th grade, it's moving forward in the future for 6th and 8th. And the data that we really look into supports the same idea of the need to do that spiral approach. And this is our biology test scores. Again, you'll see that we are achieving better than the BFG and also than the state. And so that was the final chart for science.
Ron,
Yes.
the special ed chart, are they taking the test by themselves, or are they still part of the whole, grade group, I guess? Are they getting the same test, they're getting the same test, but maybe longer time?
Yeah, they would get the
They look-
extended time.
Smaller group, a long time, but they're getting the same test as the regular group.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
And not all of the special education students get accommodations,
Yeah.
it's just those students that have it in their IEPs.
No, but that's pretty impressive, if they're doing the same test, so, very good.
I've noticed specifically with the special ed component that there were years that were very high and then they dropped considerably and then they went back up. You know what the cause some of those factors were?
I don't know specifically the cause. If I try to extrapolate, it could be just having to do with the number of students in the subgroup. Because it's definitely different students each year because we're only looking at that one grade level. We don't really, our longitudinal data for this test isn't following the same students. It's only looking at 4th grade each year. But I know that when I look at the data very specifically, we're looking at data in special education, like the students that are partially proficient, it could be 2 students that cause the difference. So my hypothesis is essentially, it has to do with the numbers.
But also they change the test from year to year, so they're not taking the same test and then taking the same test with different kids. So
That's
that-
right.
Yeah, but that would be for every student, so others in the
Right,
general
but if
ed
it's an
all
easier
went up.
test, if it's an easier test in one year, it's a harder test in the next year, then
But you mean
the numbers
comparing
are-
to the
Yeah, if
DOJ?
you're comparing to all the kids that took it though, in Fairlawn, I mean, that brought special attention to me that they had dropped, the other classes did not. They
But
were
if
still
the
up.
test is harder one year, then the scores might be dropped.
Could
If the
affect
test is
special
easier
education.
one year, then the scores could be higher. I just wanted to know, because I know they do non-proficient, advanced, proficient, so this is just like an aggregate grade of
This
all
is,
3 of those?
right, this is a combination of advanced proficient, not the partially proficient.
Okay.
Am I correct that the special ed population, I mean, it's different every year, different disabilities every year, so that in itself makes it almost impossible to track year to year.
And a lot of times, the way you put students into the subgroup, I think, is very specific, right? There's like a way you classify a student for the state testing. I may be saying that
Some with
wrong.
accommodations and some without.
Yes.
Do you have the numbers on how many our students are advanced proficient first, are DFG and the like?
I do not with me, but I do have it.
Would it be possible to get that information?
Yeah, one of the things I went over with Ron just today, I had him down, and if
That's
you,
why I laughed.
one of the things when he builds charts in the future, and we're gonna be changing, and you get more into park, you're gonna be tracking kids, you're gonna see the growth of the student, rather than just one cohort versus another cohort, which doesn't tell us, it tells us, that the percentage of kids that were proficient, it doesn't tell us that the kids learn. I can be proficient, if I'm talking about NJASC, I could be very proficient at, let's say, 225 is my cut score. My scale score, 225, I'm proficient. The next year, I go down to 201, I still come out proficient, but why am I dropping? See, that's growth or lack of growth. So when we go to park, we're gonna be tracking that, we're gonna watch, and we can see students, even the highest students who are doing very well, if they start coming down, but they're still up there, you know, in the advanced area, we can see, we can find out what's going on, what's happening. See, we can't do that with the way New Jersey set up, New Jersey S, unless we personally break it down, which we have done, by the way. Most of you have seen the charts I've been doing for years, and we then would summarize. Mike really kind of screamed at me one day and said, I want to see this. So I came back and I started showing the growth of students, you know. And, but what we have, Jeff, if you went to some other charts, you would actually see, let's say Fair Lawn is a total of 71.6% proficient in the bio end of course year, okay? So that's good, compared to, you know, we love 100, but, you know, we're real, so but compared to our district factor grouping in the state, we're doing very well. Out of the 71.6%, we may have, say, 21% is in advanced, and the remainder of that is proficient, so you got proficient advanced. So you would start out coming up here, and we would have a line drawn about here, so you can easily see the difference with a percentage. And we've been doing that on all the other charts, but Ron didn't have a chance. We just got these scores recently, so we put this together for you.
Okay. Is it possible if we get to see those at some point?
I can tell you that all the elementary schools, their advanced proficiency was higher than the proficiency.
Okay.
From 60 to 70% advanced proficiency.
And middle school too. We're very heavy on the advanced
Okay.
side.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any more questions for Ron? You know, I was talking, do you have any questions for Ron? No? Okay, Ron, thanks for stopping in. Ron stopped especially to do this. As you can see, he was out doing a special,
Trying to save somebody.
yeah, with and so we're around tonight. I promised him there was no kryptonite here, so they can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about the SOA
Don't
next.
forget you did.
Now, on the back table, there were some, we printed out some extra copies. They were all gone already, but there's copies of the SOA. There's also, I had some extra copies of draft. These are drafts of the district focus, so whoever took them, you have them, you can look at them. The SOA, this is an important document. Let me explain what this is. About 5 years ago, the State Department had changed the way it monitors schools, it measures schools. And they started doing more desk audits. And when they came out with a full team. Last year, not last year, 3 years ago, last time they monitored us, which was 3 years ago. Last time they were here, they came out with a full team. This room was loaded. We have principals, we have subject supervisors, Natalie, myself, and this big team from the state. And they take us through everything. They look at every bit of our curriculum. They want to know, who's ready, is it aligned, to what standards, and show us this. And we digitized, and then they did finance, and then Joanne came in, and we had finance all digitized, and we showed them everything they want. So we spent time digitizing everything so we could pull it up for them. As you will recall, the highest rating you can get is a district that's high performing. We earned that. We earned that last time we were monitored. We're a high performing district, which is where you want to be, obviously. You don't want to be anything less than that. What they're doing now is they have announced a waiver program. And the waiver program is, first of all, we used to get monitored every 7 years. Now, Jean will remember that, Mary will remember that, Elise will remember, people have around. It's every 7 years. Then they went to every 3 years because the legislature's made them, they wanted to change things. Okay, so they did. So what's happened is every 3 years doesn't even give you a chance to breathe. So what they came up with for the first time this year is a waiver. And they're saying to us, we're going to go back and look at all the districts that were high performing last year. If you're not high performing, you don't even have a shot at it. So they're going to start by reviewing all of our documents that we submit. So the audit is one of them. They go through the audit, they look at everything, and there's a whole list of criteria of what the audit has to satisfy. A bond rating and recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to look at that. Then they're going to look at our curriculum, and we have to produce the curriculum. Where are you on aligning to the core content areas? Where are you on the Common Core? Where are you moving into the direction of the national science standards, the new science standards, next generation science standards. So we have to prove that. Our Title I, our federal grants, we have to show them that. Then what they'll do is they'll say, okay, do your SOA, which is this document. And this document is made up of 5 areas. It's called DPRs. And the areas in the document range from finance, instruction of program, fiscal management, which I said, governance, which Mary was heavily involved with us in doing as the board's representative, the operations of the district, and personnel, which obviously everybody has one. Joanne heads up the financial area, Natalie heads up the operations and instruction, Mary came in and worked with us on governance, and we have personnel under Lisa. And I went out for Starbucks. I just want to see you listen. Okay, so we go through this, we rate it. Tonight it's on the agenda. We have scored 100% in all 5 areas. So we're going to submit this after the board approves it. Now, what happens next is once we submit it, it goes through a review process at the State Department. If they feel satisfied with everything, they grant us the waiver, which means we continue for another 3 years as a high-performing school district status, and they don't come on site to monitor us because they've done it all. And they really put all their eggs in one basket 3 years ago, plus what we now have given them. Does that explain, is that clear how this all works? Okay, so that's what this is about, and this is the final page of the SOA, and this is what they're really interested in looking at, and I do not have the right PowerPoint. I just redid this today. Hang on one second.
Could I just say one thing, Bruce?
Yes.
In going through governance, for example, we don't just sit and give ourselves 10, you know. There has to be a column with the documentation that lets them know where they, you know, how we do these things, whether it be through policy, board minutes, this meeting, that, whatever. So it's you know, we didn't just check everything off and say 10.
Let's hope this. Okay. I made some last minute changes, but apparently they didn't come across. It's not the problem. But anyway, this is the final page in the back up here. That's covered by the title. This is a PDF, and what I had to do is take a snapshot and move it over. I didn't have time to get in because we already did it, but it's the best. But what you see is here's the areas. Here are the 5 areas: instruction, program, fiscal management, governance, and personnel. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you're doing here is you're giving yourself these scores. Okay, these are actually 2 together. And we come out with 100% after a lot of documentation and producing all this material that they ask us to produce. So we're hopeful that we're going to get this waiver. This will be a good shot in the arm, and we don't have to go through all of the other stuff this year. Okay, next is the district focus. This is the document boards. You board members received a copy I sent home.
Yep. The
district focus is about, let me tell you what this is. This is one of the most important documents we put together. If you're getting on a plane, and you're going to travel somewhere, you're on vacation or go visit somebody, we all want to believe that the pilot has a flight plan, otherwise the pilot doesn't know where the plane's going to go. This is our flight plan academically. So what we do with the district focus is we have massive meetings, and the principals will laugh at me for this here, all of them, and we go through setting all the goals for the district. Any goals that are carried forward that we did not satisfy last year, we call them continuation goals. The new goals that we put together, and then we bring to the board. We have superintendent goals in the packet, and we have board goals coming up, which you're going to develop your goals at your retreat. And then we'll make them part of the packet. But you have a large number of goals. And it's so important because there's an old saying, what does not get measured does not get accomplished. Okay? Remember that. So if you're not setting goals, where are you going with your school district? Right? We need to know that. And how do we get to our goals? We get to our goals because we study the data from the years past. and we look at where we are. We look at our literacy scores, we look at the various grade levels, we look at science, as Ron showed, we look at our mathematics, we look at art in the district, how we do in art, how we doing with music, what's happening, what's not happening, where should we be, professional development for the teachers. That's a goal in certain areas because we're not going to have the learning take place unless the teachers, up on how to teach to the learning that you want to take place. So we have a lot going on. So this booklet is extremely important, but it has a lot of points to it. If you go through it, very important, and a whole district is now, we have a mission statement. What is a mission statement? Mission statement is your purpose. That's what a mission statement is. Then there's a vision statement and there's a value statement. A vision statement is a sub-statement to your mission statement which says, mission, what's our purpose? Vision, who do we want to be? Values, how do we want to behave to get to that point? Very, very important to have those three statements. Last time we did that was about 10 years ago, 9 years ago. So right now, all the building principals, all the subject supervisors, the central office, we're working on new mission statements, but teachers involved. We want to know, want everybody to know, mission of Mills. What's the mission of Lindcrest? What's the mission of Memorial? What's the mission of the high school? And then we're going to do vision statements, and we're going to do value statements. So it's very important. So this is the district's mission statement, which exists in here. We have overarching goals. There are 2 overarching goals. They have been here for years and years and years. And the 2 overarching goals are success for each and every student, and there's a whole long definition of what that means, and quality and continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is a subset of excellence. The only way you're going to reach excellence is through continuous improvement. Because the longer you stop improving, you decay. Then we go into the core components of school performance. It's all in this book: professional development, core values and comments. Superintendent, board is the district goals. The whole document is filled with district goals. Building goals, organization chart, which is very important, and then you assign it. This is by code. You have to get, not code, but statute. You have to get the nurse's plan. I don't know why that stands out, but it does, so we have to put that into the document of the district focus. So the board had an opportunity to go through that, and I'm sure you read every page that I sent home to you. Everything, I'm sure you did. Anybody have any questions so far before I go on? Not anything? Can I answer anything? Okay, next, emergency crises management plans, uniform state memorandum of agreement. What is that, and what are the management plans, the safety plans? Every school in the state of New Jersey has got to develop a safety and security plan, an emergency safety and security plan. We do this annually. We review it more than once, but we have to have it at least done annually, and the board has to approve them, which you have. There is a copy in every school building of that school's plan that has to be shared with the faculty, so everybody knows, the employees, all employees. I have a copy. This book is everybody's plan, so we keep that in the office, and every school has their plan. It's all about security. We spend a lot of time going over our security. Part of that is obviously bringing in the first responders to help you build your plan. We want the police, which they've been in. We want the emergency management office in town. We want the fire department to work with us. So we build that all together. Technology plays a big part in our safety and security. We have cameras where you don't think we have cameras. We have a lot of things going on. Those plans are done. They'll be approved tonight and submitted. Uniform statement of memorandum. That is, again, that's put out as a mandate. And it's a whole agreement, multiple pages of an agreement of how we behave with the Fair Lawn Police Department. So I meet each year with the Chief of Police. We sit down usually in his office, and we go through the memorandum of agreement. We talk about how we're going to work with each other, how do we keep each other informed of incidents going on. We talk about our safety and security methods. There are some things we talk about that I won't share with anybody because then it would not be total security. And we sign off on that. That agreement then gets sent to the county office. It gets reviewed by the State Department and also by the county prosecutor's office. So if there's anything in there they don't like, they call us and tell us. But we have to satisfy that part of the law. That's been done, the board has already approved it. No, maybe it's not, is it on tonight, or did you do it last week? Maybe it's not tonight. Yeah. All right. We work with the federal NCLB Safe Schools Act, that comes into how we put these plans together, and the new state security safety plan, that has minimum requirements, it's a book like this, and we consult that as we put our plans together. So it's not just us making this up, all right, we have a lot of guidance. All the administration, every one of the administrators, myself included, I've gone to a number of workshops on school safety given by Homeland Security, New Jersey State Troopers, the NJPSA, FEA has sponsored some. We have some of our administrators going this year again, so we're constantly going and learning on how to do things better. Okay, emergency crisis plan. So here's what it looks like for us. We have to do these things. School safety security manual, individual school safety security plans. We're required under this whole thing. It's all active safety and security. We have to have so many drills, security drills. You recall going back a number of years ago, we used to have 2 fire drills a month. And then when the security drills and the law passed, it changed to 1 fire drill and 1 security drill. And these are required. We have to have 2 active shooter drills, 2 evacuation drills, 2 matter of fact, Westmoreland just went on their evacuation, right?
Yep.
And every school has to evacuate to another location. Yeah, so we have all these different locations that we have to go to. For instance, Radford, you go down to the Grange Hall and stuff. Okay. We have 2 bomb threats and 2 lockdown drills, and then after that we can practice any of the other drills or repeat these if we wanted to. What do you do? We do shelter in place. We do a external threat drill, an internal threat lockdown drill, an external threat lockdown drill. So and we run them here. Myself and I have Joanne and Natalie and Lisa helping me. So we run the drills in Edison. So every school goes through the drills. If you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll stop. Okay, week of respect, October 5th through 9th. Again, the week beginning with the first Monday in October is the week of respect in the state of New Jersey. That's designated. And what that does, week of respect, is it really wants you to focus on character education and respect. And there's a number of things we do. Every classroom, every teacher is handed in their plans for how they celebrate that week. But we don't just stop with that week. We emphasize that week because we have to record the data just to prove that we're participating during that week. But we do this all year long with the character ed programs, with the clubs we have, with all the things that we're doing. School districts must observe the week by providing age-appropriate instruction focused on preventing HIP. You'll see HIP in a minute, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Throughout the school year, the school district must provide ongoing age-appropriate instruction preventing HIP in accordance with the core curriculum content, and we're going into the Common Core as well. So it's right into the curriculum. We write in character ed, education, and what we do each year. I'm going to talk about HIP in a minute. Here it is. When the law was passed, this is the definition when we started going with harassment, intimidation, and bullying. When this law first came out, we were all trained in this law, and the law was specifically delivered with the emphasis that this is a student-on-student law. Since that time, the commissioner has now ruled that it's not only a student-on-student, but it is also an adult-on-student law. So if an adult is bullying a student, we have to take over. If a student is bullying a student, we have to take over. So this is the law, this is the definition, and it means the following. Do I have to read it?
No.
All right. All right, so it continues. It's a long definition. All right. It includes A, reasonable person should know. It includes B, has the effect of insulting or demeaning any student or group of students. And it includes C, creates a hostile educational environment. There are protected classes, and if the complaint that comes in that's registered is somebody is being bullied, and anybody can turn that in to any principal. They can tell a teacher, they can tell a custodian, they can tell anybody. They all have to go to the principal and report it. We look at the definition, and we look at the protective classes: race, religion, distinguishing characteristics, power and control, which is one, by the way, that this board put in that's not recognized by the state, but the board made it an extra difficult investigation by adding power and control. So there's a number of those, and we have to look at that. Not every complaint that comes in, matter of fact, the majority of complaints that come into us are not hit after we do our investigation. And the investigation process is outlined very, very directly, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But most of them that come in, people don't really understand the law, and they think it's bullying. Bullying is a one-way street. There's a good way, it's an elementary definition. Bullying is a one-way street. Okay? If there's mutually, Jim, what was it?
Mutual engagement.
Mutual engagement, it is not bullying. It is really, then it becomes conflict, war, and they have to be addressed. But 99% of bullying is a one-way street. So, I show this each year. This is a flow chart of how the law takes place. If a complaint comes in about bullying, and it can take place on school grounds, the school bus, or at a school event, the complaint comes in, and it's a verbal report, and then it becomes a written report, but it goes eventually to the principal. If that complaint is identified immediately as code of conduct, okay, because the word bullying is not used or harassment is not used, then we say it's a code of conduct, then we handle it, and it gets resolved that way. However, if people are using the word bullying, all I have to say is I'm being bullied, and we have to start the investigation process at that point. I'm being harassed, I'm being intimidated, and then that starts the flow. So the principal contacts the parents, number one, or the guardians, confirms the fair loan letter, sends it out a letter, tells them about what's going on. It's either your child is a victim or your child is the aggressor, or children, or both, it could be more. It then is handed over, the principal hands it over to a specialist called an ABS, anti-bullying specialist. We have appointed in every building. They do the actual investigation. It's their job to do the investigation. The specialist begins the investigation and must complete it within 10 school days, and then report it. There can be an amendment to that later on, but you try to meet the 10 school days. Specialist submits the findings back to the principal. The principal then looks at it carefully and either agrees or disagrees with the ABS. The principal completes a separate report and attaches the summary of the incident, log it, and then sends it to me. I then meet with the principal and go over every HIB situation. Do I agree with the principal's interpretation and with the ABS interpretation? So we have checks and balances, we have a number. Yep.
Are there any rights for a student who's bullied and decides to defend him or herself, either physically or verbally? Does that student then become an aggressor, even though he or she may just be defending him or herself?
Well, there's two parts of that. One is bullying, and the other one is, you're defending yourself. However, there's a good way to defend yourself. Go tell an adult, go talk to somebody. You turn around and slap somebody, you're in trouble. Right?
So even if, like, say, a kid's just being tortured by another one, and
what do you mean by torture?
they're just being harassed and sassed by people, and so they had enough, so they turn around and say, "I've had enough of you," and you sock them in the face.
You're in trouble.
That's silly.
That's what it comes down to, how guilt is.
Yeah,
Sure you can.
Regardless.
you don't have the right to do that.
Listen, my kid was getting tortured by
It's the
someone,
law.
I hope she would hit him.
Well, it's the law.
I do say that on record.
I'm already saying what the law says.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you my feelings.
So soft.
Okay, so the principal takes all that, gives it to me. I move down. Superintendent reviews the report. I can modify it, obviously. From there, I bring it to the Board of Education, which the board gets every month. And that's the very next meeting. After I see the report, it's got to go to the next meeting. Board of Education issues a decision. Either they affirm my finding or they'll change it. At that point, the parents of the student is informed of the finding. If the student's 18 or older, they're informed of the finding. And then they have, either the parent or the 18-year-old adult or older, has a right to request a board hearing. Why did this happen? And then they can appeal the decision of the Board of Education within 90 days to the commissioner, and they can also go to, it can become a civil rights situation at that point. So this flow chart brings you through. So if anybody wants to know how it works, although it looks kind of confusing, it just walks you right through the whole process later. Okay, so now I'm fulfilling the next obligation, the HIB law. I'm reporting on the last 6 months, which was January to June of last year, okay? And now we do that in October. And then in April, we'll do this year from July or September through December. So here's the first, so we have listed the following. We have submitted to the State Department, we have 9 violence, we have no weapons, we have 14 hit cases, we had 2 vandalism, no substance abuse, and this is a report, which I'll show you in a minute. This is a report that goes down to the state, and there are other incidents. In other words, behind all of these numbers, we can see, for instance, the 9 vandalism. Okay, so this is a page from the report, and you have violence. There were 3 at the high school, 1 at Milnes, 1 at Forest. Now, the definition is lengthy. It could be anything. Violence could be slapping someone. You know, when you hear the word violent, you think, you open up the paper, you read some terrible things you heard in the news, and you think violence is all of that. Somebody got shot, or God forbid, something other than that. It doesn't have to be that. It could be a physical fight. It could be a slap, or vandalism, and weapons and stuff. So if you look at this, there was 1 at Milnes, 1 at Forest, 1 at Memorial, 2 at Radford, and 1 at TJ, and that was the list. And I have to say this, so I don't jinx ourselves, but for a district our size, compared to what's going on, this is really not that bad, although we'd like to see none, 0. But that's the report. That's not good. This is almost not good. Great job. Okay, so what are we doing about all of this? We have the character education programs, we've got assemblies, we have ongoing things, we have some great things we're going to show you in one school in a little while. We have ongoing trainings, policy trainings, faculty trainings, affirmative action, cyberbullying. All these things are going on in the district constantly throughout the year, which satisfies and helps us build an atmosphere that is peaceful and really rejects the harassment, intimidation, and bullying as best as we can. And again, that's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty good compared to a lot of places. We have a number of different programs. We're bringing guest speakers. We have peer social norms. We have all kinds of things going on. So it's not just on paper. It's very active. Besides that, this Board of Education has passed this is a sample of the policies that affect the atmosphere and the culture of the Fair Lawn School District as it connects to, peacefulness, calmness versus the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So you have to have a set of laws, rules for everybody to behave in the boundaries of those rules. And we have that, and that's what the board does. The board is the governing body. They set policy, and we have to then enforce that policy. All right, the other set of numbers I have to report to you are the special ed numbers. This is the alternative proficiency assessment. Mr. Barbarulo asked about the special ed kids take the same test as the other students when it comes to PARCC, and the answer is yes. However, we do have a number of students that are not able to take that test. So they call it an alternative proficiency assessment, alternate. And this year, that APA is only with special ed students that are going to take the test in science, because the ELMs, digital learning maps, are coming in, and we have taken them for math and literacy. We don't have those scores back yet. So this is it. So we have a little breakdown of this to show you and show the public. In grade 12, we had 2 in-district students take the test, the APA. Grade 11, there was 1. Grade 8, there was 11. This is science now. Grade 4, there was 1 for a total of 15. There was 2 out of district, and that gives us a total of 17. So 17 of our students, and Michelle this year, she'll correct me if I'm wrong, but 17 of our special ed students who could not take the park are working with the teachers on the APA. If we look at it here, you can see by grade level again, we have total number of students was 17. Of this group, 13 were found to be proficient, 1 was advanced proficient, and 3 were partially proficient. So we're working with that. Yes,
Bruce, the out-of-district kids that are on that other chart,
yeah,
there are kids that are out of the
Yes.
district, right?
correct.
So they're taking the test.
Yes, and we give it to them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what are some of the differences when we get to taking the PARCC test or the APA and also the DLM testing? It differs. There are modifications, and they're very different. So the modifications that we have in front of us here are the modifications that the APA students and the PARCC students, although they're very different with PARCC and the APA. So some examples, presentation combination examples of paper-based addition text-to-speech, the response accommodating examples, calculation device, human scribe, and is reading. Now in the PARCC, there is a difference when it comes to the reading, right? Who's doing the reading? In PARCC, we have to read to a student. Who's doing the reading?
It's a text.
It's a text-to-speech, so it's computerized, it's digitized. It's not having, it's not like a scribe is someone sitting there writing for the child. We used to have somebody read for the child. Well, now it's digitized. So everything is going to online testing in every area. So I'm telling all parents, let your kids sit for PARCC. It can't hurt. And I'm going to tell you why.
Bruce,
Yes.
there's still no accommodation for students who are instructed at 1 grade level, they still get tested at their chronological grade level?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Okay. Now, I said I had some ideas, I wanted to share some comments. First, does anybody have any questions on that? A lot of material that we have to present. And to present the way that we get through it and understand it is a challenge.
I'm trying to be silly, but is there anything in the current legislature regarding safety drills for people who attend meetings, such as board meetings?
Not in code that I know. Paul, do you know that? No. Something happened, we're on the wrong. I think the most frightening conversation we have is when you tell teachers that if, God forbid, there's a live shooter in the building, and we pull a live shooting drill, and we lock the doors, you're in charge, nobody else is. You now take responsibility. And, there's a lot of different philosophies. My philosophy has always been, when I think it's right, I'm getting out. I'm not staying. Now, somebody will argue that because they have a different philosophy. But I'm not sitting in a room with somebody with a shotgun and a ball or something like that. I'm getting kids out. So we'll go out windows, we'll go outdoors, we'll go out anywhere, as long as I feel there's no threat on the outside. It takes a while, you don't just make a decision. Those are tough times.
But you have fire drills in the building when you're there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like all businesses, even like the big buildings in New
Yeah.
York, I mean, they have fire drills.
Sure.
That's-
Yeah, every day. And every month.
Just for like our meeting, you don't have to have a fire drill.
And I think that's what Mark.
That's what I was
That's what
saying,
he's saying.
but it
After
would,
hours.
it would make sense if there was somebody who had direction to be given you know, because not everybody knows the layout of the building perhaps.
That door.
Matter of fact, one of the things we're very, very nervous about is what happens if somebody was in the building, let's say a shooter was in the building and you had somebody in the men's room. Would you come out to the hallway? No, right? Do you hide in the bathroom? Yeah, is there a window? Yeah, go out the window. You know, so you come up. What happens if there's no window? That's really shaky. You know, we want to pull people in classrooms as much as we can and lock the doors. We constantly trying to figure out what's the best way to behave in those circumstances.
Just getting back to what Mark said,
Yeah, go ahead.
there's a statistic, Mark, that majority of people never check exits when they go into a building. They always plan on going out the way they came in.
Right.
If you could have exits all along the way, they'll look to go that way instead of going that way. There's a statistic like that. And that's why a lot of places, they'll tell you right before anything happens, there's exits to the right, to the left, to the back.
And keep in mind, the nearest exit.
Remember, the-
Oh, that's okay. It's not true. But, you know, it's all part of egress. But that we,
Like an airplane, nobody pays attention.
That's right.
that's why guys argue with us with fire when the exit lights don't work or stuff like that. We just had a building there eliminated 2 exit lights. Like, really, whose brain idea was that one? You know, just take 2 exit lights away.
Right.
Now you're gonna put them in.
Okay.
This part of comments or?
Yeah, now, just part of comments. We have a number of things just to share with you. First of all, today, Natalie and I attended the annual Commissioners' Convocation. And, you know, it was pretty interesting. The commissioner comes and he brings in his entourage of assistant commissioners and specialists. And they make presentations about, you know, the park coming out. We're going to be getting scores in you know, January, the actual scores. The individual students. We're going to be getting some questions coming up. There's a whole, we've gone over with the administration, the new scoring reports. So the administration all knows what they look like. We talked about those reports. Natalie and I are going to talk to the administration about having a parent academy night. We're going to invite the people in Fairlawn to come. We're going to go over the park's test scoring so we can explain to all the parents how to read the test scores and how to look at the data that students have performed on the testing. We have just gone through our testing with our ELL students. There's a test called Access for L's that is now all computer-based. You can see everything is going to computer-based. If any of you have college students, I do, I have 2, and I can tell you they do a ton of things on a computer, tests, research, everything. We also have a situation that we are putting together a letter that will go home to a number of students and their parents. And we're working with Mr. Marcella, Natalie and I, and some of our subject supervisors to author the letter. It's almost done. And what is that about? Well, here's the announcement, which, as you know, I sent out 5 letters last year to the community explaining why kids should sit for PARCC. And what is PARCC? What is Common Core? And how did it come about? So this year I'm going to write another letter campaign, but we're going to do something a little different. We're going to attach some things to those letters. The letter going out is this. We have a number of students who, and as you know, by law, every New Jersey high school student has got to take a graduation assessment. All right, we've been taking a HESPA for years. The HESPA's gone. The law is still intact. So as they're phasing in, which causes a lot of problems, as they're phasing in PARCC for a high school assessment for graduation purposes, they made a terrible mistake. And it caused all of us, you know, to take a couple of extra aspirin, just to get some stuff. So what's happening now is we have students who have opted out from not taking the PARCC, you know, from their junior or their sophomore or their freshman year. They said, no, we don't have to take it. There's a lot of movement out there. And by the way, if you don't take the PARCC, there are subtests that you can utilize and satisfy your high school graduation assessment. The PSAT can be used at a certain score, the SAT can be used at a certain score, the ACT test could be used at a certain score. What happens to the students that either didn't take any of those tests or opted out from Park and did not make the cutoff on those sub-tests? They cannot graduate. So now all the districts are going, what do we do? And the State Department has said, gee, I think you guys better do something about this, you know? So what we're doing is the State Department has released, there was a test called the AccuPlacer, which I actually talked to this administration about 3 years ago. We were thinking about swapping out New Jersey Pass and bringing in the AccuPlacer. And then when we looked at it real carefully, we decided not to do that. As a matter of fact, we're going in a direction. The PSATs has developed a 9th grade PSAT, and we're very excited about bringing in the 9th grade PSAT, doing away with the Pass, New Jersey Pass. So we have a 9th grade PSAT and then a 10th grade PSAT, and they are different tests. So we're looking very seriously at doing that, which would help everybody get ready for, obviously, a high school graduation assessment, which makes sense for us, right? So as we're looking at that, we have a problem. We have a number of students that right now cannot graduate Fair Lawn High School because of the situation we're in. So we are sending out a letter shortly from the high school to the parents of all of these students, and it will read that we have picked a number of dates where we are going to test using the new release AccuPlacer. We were just given permission by the state to use this test. So the AccuPlacer is going to be used. And what we are going to do after school, we are going to have remediation sessions, instruction on the AccuPlacer math for 4 days, and then the 5th day they will sit to take the AccuPlacer. If they pass it, we'll know that immediately, they're done. If they don't pass the math, then what they're going to do is during the day, we will be taking them out of their elective and they will go into a special remediation class until they do pass it, and then we're going to return them, allow them to go back to their elective class. So we're going to get that out to the parents. We're going to do the same thing with language arts or English the same way. Jim, Madam, right, Mike, explaining it correctly? So now, we're trying to schedule all of this, we're putting it together, but you will take these tests until, you have a passing grade, so you can graduate.
I'm just curious about how many kids that is affected.
How many kids?
Like seniors, I mean juniors and seniors, I don't know who you're looking at. So 105 kids will take an SAT or PSAT?
Well, no, it's a mix. It's, number one, 105 either opted out of Park, we don't know if they passed, we didn't get the scores back. Now, out of that 105, maybe 80 of them took the Park. So when we get the scores back, if they pass, they're fine.
Okay.
But as we're looking at them, we're also looking at SAT. Did they take it? No. Did they take it? Yes. Did they pass the cut score? No. PSAT, the same thing. The ACT, the same thing. I don't know. So we've looked at that, and we'll constantly work on it.
Is it just language arts and math?
Yes.
No science?
So that's what we're doing in that area. I wanted to inform the board, in case you get phone calls, once these letters go out, people like to call board members. And, you should be prepared to say, well,
My wife called me.
all the superintendent of the whole high school principal. So, one of the things I'm going to be doing this year is I'm going to be emphasizing that although the State Department has now elongated the mix-up, from different nice words, to the freshmen that came in this year's freshmen, with taking the Park as mandated, starting in 2020, the Park is supposed to be mandated for graduation. So it's moving forward, it's not going to change. And by the way, I'd like everybody to sit and take this because computer-based testing is going, SATs are going that way, the Access for L's just went that way, College Board is looking at it and everything, and it's the way of the future. Why not get practice? It doesn't make sense then. I said that last year, but a lot of people don't listen. All right, so, did I miss any comments? Oh, I don't know. Yes, I'm gonna ask Natalie to just comment on the BSK. Everybody remember the BSK program? It was such a success last year. Well, Natalie, why don't you comment on that?
So we have the 3 BSK teachers and the elementary specialists and myself, we have met several times to look at data for eligibility for entrance into the program. And right now we have 63 students that are eligible for either the BSK program or the ELL BSK program. So we have sent letters to parents, and we are having 2 parent information sessions, one on October 19th, one on October 20th, where we explain the program. And then they can make the decision then if they would like to enroll the students into the program. It is voluntary, and maybe in our 2 years so far, we've had 1 parent choose not to put the child in the program. So we're very excited. We do have 2 sections of the BSK ELL this year, so we're really excited to be able to help all those students. So we're moving ahead, and that program will start on October 26th.
What's called the BSK ELL?
So the BSK ELL is at Warren Point, both sessions. There's also a regular BSK program at Warren Point, and the other one is at Forest.
Okay, one more report, and then I'm gonna sit down. But this is really exciting. I'm gonna talk about the world of Google for a minute. Okay, the board has been very, very supportive. Let me give you some ideas. Today was the first day of the early release for PLCs. Okay? They started off with a Google form of a sign-up with a bunch of questions, which went out as a Google form, and everybody's filling it out on Google, so we're all sharing with all over the district. That's number one. Number two, I'm putting this up, I had an opportunity, we have Google Classroom going on in a couple of the schools, and I had an opportunity to go over to the 4th grade class in Westmoreland, who's a teacher, Grace Kloon, is using Google Classroom. And she invited me over, so I went over and I observed and actually spoke to some of the students, and the principal, Christy's here, she went in with me. And we had a great time. It's unbelievable what these kids are sharing and doing with this already. Thank you to the Gary and Parkinson, our Google certified Google instructor, and also the teachers who've fallen in love with it. From that, I have to share this with you. This is great. Westmoreland is now producing a newspaper. And what they're doing, Christy, why don't you explain? Go ahead, why don't you
So,
explain?
our philosophy this year basically has been, if you can't beat them, join them. So, the students have been so intrigued by what's going on outside of our classroom windows. It's been such a learning opportunity, and we've really tried to infuse the whole process with literacy and mathematics. The students were so interested in what was going on outside of our windows, they asked if they could publish a newspaper to keep the community informed, their parents informed, all of you informed. And each month, a classroom will be adopting the project. We've entitled it the Westmoreland Watchman. This month, the 5th grade, one of the 5th grade classes took on the responsibility. They've brought in everyone from, Kevin Cohen, the construction manager, to focusing on certain pieces of equipment that are being used. Students wrote comic strips and all different types of questions for the construction team. And it was published today using a bit.ly link on Google. So students in the class were able to take pictures and then import them into Google, work on it from home, work on articles simultaneously using the Google platform, and they just enjoyed every single minute of it. Next month, the 4th grade, one of the 4th grade classrooms will be publishing it. It correlates so nicely with a unit they just finished on electricity, and that next month, they'll be trenching to tie in the electricity from the old building to the new building.
But they're interviewing the electricians on the job.
So, I go out to the trailer with some cookies and coffee and say, can my 4th graders interview you? And they gladly set up, time to do that. So it's been a really fun experience to be a part of, and the kids are loving it. So we're very proud of our first publication today.
She didn't know I was going to do this.
No.
What I'm so excited about it because it's catching on so great.
Wait till I tell them tomorrow,
Yeah.
Mr. Watson. You're going to be even more excited.
We showed off, right?
Yes.
We showed off. This leads us into one more thing, and that is just give you a quick update on the construction project. As you can see, it's over here. This is the sketch of the finished construction. and what's going on. Here's, we're tying in, we have the foundation walls that are gonna be coming up, and they put in the drainage and everything so forth. Every week since it started, a team, Joanne Wilson, myself, Tom Senko, John Jobs, and sometimes Brooke is able to make it, but sometimes she stays here and works. And we meet with the construction manager, Kevin Cohen, who you saw on top. We meet with the whole construction, the owner of the company, the architects, engineers, et cetera. And every month we sit, every week we sit down in a meeting, and now it's gonna go to 2 weeks. But since it started, it's every week. And I told them we'd go to 2 weeks once we have the schedule of values, which we finally got. And for those of you in construction, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it doesn't make any sense. But construction of values is an extremely important document because it really points out what gets done, at what time of the year, and when is it supposed to be finished. And that's very important to us because we need to finish this project, in order to open up school next year. So we're on the case, we're doing that. They're on target right now. Now, bar, over and over, they keep telling, bar any bad winter or weather, we should make our target. The only thing out of our control is the weather. If we have a horrible winter, it might be, not making the target. But right now, we're still on target with that. And it's good.
They said again, it's not supposed to be a bad one.
Yeah, so.
No, they say.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before I turn this over?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this back to our board president, and I'll,
Thank you.
2-1, second.
Okay, we're gonna go to the agenda report. S1, approval of emergency and crisis management plans. S2, approval of district focus. S3, school violence and hood reports, public hearing. S4, approval of New Jersey PSAC statement of assurance. S5, ratify approval of payment for the completion of the 2014-2015 merit goals. S6, resolution to disenroll pupil. E1, attendance at conferences, conventions, workshops. E2, approval of extracurricular activities. Approval of student, teachers, interns, practicums, field observation placement. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, approval of literacy intervention consultant. E6, approval of compensation, basic skills kindergarten, Title I. E7, approval of compensation, middle school, Title I academies. E8, approval of compensation, Title III, kindergarten ESL. E9, approval of compensation, Title III, middle school ESL. P1, rescission of appointment of non-certificated personnel, 2015-16 school year. P2, approval of certificated day-to-day substitutes and bedside home instruction personnel. P3, approval of non-certificated day-to-day substitutes. P4, approval of the district comprehensive equity plan. P5, approval of appointment of certificated personnel. P6, salary adjustment to higher degree status. P7, approval of appointment of non-certificated personnel. P8, approval of leave of absence without pay, child rearing certificated personnel. P9, approval of leave of absence without pay, non-certificated personnel. P10, approval of resignation of non-certificated personnel. P11, approval of extra instructional time certificated personnel. P12, approval of change in effective date certificated personnel. P13, approval of change in effective date of promotion certificated personnel. P14, approval of change in assignment of non-bargaining personnel. P15, appointment of temporary high school media center after-school personnel certificated personnel. P16, appointment of temporary high school media center before school personnel certificated personnel. P17, appointment of after-school security attendants. P18, approval of termination non-certificated personnel. P19, approval of change in hourly rate of pay, community school personnel. P20, approval of winter sports Schedule C position. P21, approval of Schedule D position B and D, Memorial Middle School. P22, approval of schedule position B&D, Thomas Jefferson Middle School. P23, approval of reassignment of part-time bus drivers and part-time bus aides, 2015-16 fiscal year. P24, approval of change in assignment not certificated personnel. P25, approval of appointment of not certificated personnel. P26, approval of appointment of custodial maintenance personnel. SE1, approval of tuition transportation to special schools providing regular special education. SE2, approval of related service providers for classified students. And SE3, approval of bedside home instruction for classified students. May I have a motion to approve S1 through SE3?
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the board? Ron?
I just have two questions. P19, is that correct? It went down? What
Yes.
is,
Yes.
Why?
Something to do with the income she received, she can't make more
Oh,
by
okay.
state, so.
And the other one was on P25, E, is that the name Janet or is it supposed to be Janet?
No, it's Janet.
Janet, okay. No, just checking.
No, I mean, makes sense.
Any other comments from the board? Comments from the public on S1 through SE3? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Falkenberg?
Yes. Moving on to the finance. F1, acceptance of gifts. F2, discards. F3, bills payable payroll. F4, bills payable. F5, approval of resolution to continue to participate in Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission Cooperative Pricing System. F6, approval to participate in the PEPTM Technology Bidding and Purchasing Program. F7, approval to participate in Keystone Purchasing Network. F8, approval to participate in the National IPA Cooperative Contract. F9, Bergen County Voluntary Intergovernmental Purchasing Program. F10, resolution to submit comprehensive maintenance plan. F11, application for dual use of educational space. F12, acceptance of safety grant. F13, approval of agreement for non-public school security aid. F14, approval of PTA, PTO activities and building use. F15, approval to accept McKinney-Vento grant. F16, approval of Fairlawn Community School child care programs and revised fee schedule. F17, Board Secretary's report, June 2015 final. F18, Board Treasurer's report, June 2015 final. May I have a motion to approve items F1 through F18?
So moved. Second.
Comments from the board? Mary?
Two things. First, F1 on the acceptance of gifts. Again, our PTO is wonderful in the way in which they help us with the school district and their support. And the National Wildlife Federation, very nice. And the second thing is all the grants that we've received. And I really want to thank the hard work of the people who have to put everything together to apply for grants. Grants just don't float in the window because somebody said, gee, let's give Fairlawn a grant. It's a lot of hard work from many different people, so that's really wonderful, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Mary. Any other comments from the board on F1 through F18? Seeing none, comments from the public on F1 through F18? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes, as good as they get.
think I got you, but sorry.
2 yeses.
This is Jersey City,
I'm
can
from
only
Hudson
vote
Vote early
County.
enough.
I'm from Hudson County. You
Ms.
vote
Quackenbush?
twice.
Yes.
Walk through people fishing.
Okay, I'd like to open up this portion of the agenda for public comments. Anything that the public wishes to speak about, just ask them to state your name and address for the record.
Oh, come on.
Okay, seeing no public comments, we're gonna move on to old business. New business, we just have some meetings here. Our work session for November is November, I'm sorry. The work session that the board set up is for November the 9th. The time, 7:30.
Do you have an agenda?
Yeah.
Just also want to announce to the athletic committee that on 11/11, the Fall Sports Awards will be held at 7 p.m. at the high school. And I'd really encourage at least one of us to be there, if all of us can. I know you won't be there.
No, I will do
Oh,
that.
you will be there? Okay.
Son.
Okay. Our next public meeting is the 19th of November.
I don't know.
And you'll get back to us whether or not there'll be a student dialogue, release prior.
It should be,
Okay.
it should be that,
I'm up to it, then I can call in.
November 2nd.
unless they change something.
Yeah, just call Sam and she'll
Yeah,
set it
I
up.
got
Okay.
it, I'll call Sam.
All right. And do we need it's our, on our meeting list for community relations technology? Do we,
What is it set for?
huh?
What day is it set for?
It's supposed to be the second Thursday of November.
The only reason I'd like to have one for technology, even though I don't think there's anything pressing except just to maybe talk to people and catch up, and I don't want to drag people in, but being that there's not one for a great period of time after which,
There is one actually, like less
January.
time because of the budget.
but that's only just for a budget meeting drop. I can
Yeah,
put more, I can
but
put more on the
they
agenda.
usually go through everything going on in technology.
Okay.
No, just so you know.
It's the second Thursday, so that is the 11th, 13th, I'm sorry.
November 13th?
Yes.
So,
Hold on. I'll be right with you, Mike. What did you say that you wanted it, 11?
No, or the 12th. The 12th, Mark.
what time?
You know what? Maybe we could do it on non-evening hours.
That'd be great.
Yes, for technology.
I like that idea.
Would that be okay with the administration not to come in at 7:30?
Be wonderful.
What,
Excellent.
sorry, what?
I'm imagining that my team will get bounced out of the States by that time, so
Technology.
I hope not to.
In the afternoon?
If it's during the day, then I'm gonna, as long as it's past 3:45, I'm okay. So Mark, Elise, Joanne, you tell me what works. 4? Is that good?
7 till 6.
4 o'clock, Mark, is that good? Elise?
That's good.
Excellent.
I can't make a day meeting.
So it's November 12th.
13, 12, yes.
12.
I keep messing it up.
That's, I believe that's the night of the 8th grade orientation, Jim?
So just letting you know.
I think that's the night of the 8th grade orientation.
What's that date?
Okay, so it's really a good time, because then anybody who wants to go to that.
So we can get to that later.
Yeah.
I believe you're right.
It is.
You go.
Yes, Mike has it.
November 2nd, shared services, 7:30.
Are you doing something still in Payson? Does that happen?
What? Yes. Cindy,
can't
can
tell
we
me.
add to,
You can't.
I'm not sure of the agenda yet,
I have not.
but can we add to the work session, there's a delegates assembly meeting coming up in November, or in November or December. Can we just add just in case I need to go over something with the board, that's the agenda.
On the work session,
On the
delegate
work
assembly
session.
topics. Delegate assembly topics. Anybody else need any meetings?
4 o'clock.
No, I don't think it's 4 o'clock.
3 o'clock?
It's 2 or 3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When's the regular meeting?
Yeah.
Our regular meeting is the 19th. So we have, 11:2 is shared services at 7. 11:9, 7:30, sorry. 11:9 at 7:30 is our, work session. 11:11 is the fall awards at 7 PM at the high school. Technology is 11:12 at 4 PM, and our regular monthly meeting is November 19th.
Once again, just so everybody knows, 8th grade orientation, 8th grade orientation is
What?
12. Jim, 7:30? 7? If you haven't been to that, you
That's a
should.
really good deal.
Great night. Really, really outstanding.
And just a reminder that our board retreat, don't forget,
When is that?
December 5th. We have to have at least 5.
That's at the
Seven,
library.
seven. You
Seven,
have to have
sorry,
7 members
sorry.
there.
That's in the library, we're having it here.
Library. Right, we can have the library. It's so nice. Fix it up.
You good? That's a loser.
No, I know.
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to go into closed session. We will be coming out for a vote on approval of harassment, intimidation, bullying,
You gotta say why
investigation.
we're going into closed session.
Just said one hand. Harassment, intimidation, bullying.
We have student personnel,
People know what closed session.
You have to be specific to the rule, you can't get it.
The topics that we're discussing in closed session is the harassment, intimidation, bullying, student matter, and negotiation matters. Can I have a motion to recess for 10 minutes?
So,
All in favor? Aye.